Hey guys, this is Josh, aka DE-Evo Project on the forums. I wanted to do a real quick video and show you guys something that I've put together here recently. I've been building my drum kit, got my Pentec snare and all this stuff, and I've been really eyeballing cymbals. I recently picked up the Pentec TCs from Bobby at New England Music Supply. Good guy, good price. I got them. I was a little bit disappointed. They're a lot better as far as sensitivity than the Ion stock cymbals, but what they made up for in sensitivity and in noise reduction, they really lacked in a realistic feel for a cymbal. If you were wanting to just play rock band, these things are perfect. They work great. But if you're like me and you kind of want to move into being an actual drummer, not the most realistic cymbal you're going to find. You know, we've all heard of the Visulites. If you're like me, you really wanted a set, but you couldn't afford them. You know, I got bills and stuff to pay too. So I started looking at them and really researching them. I come to find out they're just an acrylic plate with the regular pickup and everything, just like any other electronic cymbal. I mean, depending on how fancy you get with them. Some of them are dual zone and triple zone, chokeable and stuff like that. But it's basically an acrylic piece of acrylic with a pickup on it and the pads, and they look really nice like a cymbal. So I said, you know, you could probably do this at home. I'm going to give it a try and see what I can figure out. So I actually have made a homebrew DIY Visulite cymbal. Now, this is a prototype. It's really rough. I haven't got it all smoothed out and rounded down really well. But it was kind of a rush job. I just wanted to see if I could make it happen, if it would work, how everything would work out, and you know, if it was even possible. So I was able to come up with one. I got a piece of 1/4-inch acrylic from Lowe's hardware. You can surely get them at Home Depot, any other hardware supply place, and you can buy it in sheets. The 1/4-inch sheet that I got was 18-inch by 28-inch, or excuse me, 18 by 24, and it was $16 and some change plus tax. So for about 16 bucks, I was able to make one ride cymbal. This thing's I think it's a 16-inch ride that I made. You can get the sheets that are 48-inch by 72-inch, I think, for about $50. So you can get really big sheets of this stuff, really cheap, a lot cheaper than you can get a single Visulite for. The Visulites, if any of you guys don't know, they run anywhere from like $150 to $180 all the way up to $300-400, depending on what you're getting. So the biggest obstacle that I think a lot of people get into, because I mean the modding guys will make cymbals out of frisbees, was trying to form this stuff. So I started doing a little digging, a little research. I've worked with a little bit of acrylic before, not a whole lot, for a few car projects and case modding projects, and I realized, you know, it's plastic. You should be able to kind of heat and form this stuff. So I was able to get this cymbal shape. I know it's a little rough because I kind of rushed and I didn't do everything exactly right, but I figured out what not to do so I can show you guys what to do. So basically, what we would do to make the cymbal shape is really easy. You get a shop vac. This one here's my rigid. It's a 5 horsepower shop vac. A heat gun. I got down here a Porter cable. I'm sure you could do this with anything that could put off mass amounts of heat. If you can get a heating element out of an old dishwasher or something, that would probably work. If you could come up with enough of those the work lights, the big, you know, 1500 watt work lights or whatever, you could probably make it work. I like the heat gun because it's a little more controllable, even though it took a little more time. And then we came up with a basic acoustic cymbal. I had a friend of mine let me use this one. He said that he didn't really care about it. I don't even know if that brand's any good or not, but he let me take this acoustic cymbal and use it for my project on the grounds that if it works, I help him build his own set for his electronic kit. Yeah, he's one of those kids like that that's got stuff out his ears. So we took the hose off of the shop vac over here and did this really professional grade rigging with some duct tape to kind of get it fitted up to the mounting hole of the cymbal. So here's the hole. The vacuum suction's being pulled through that hole. I would highly recommend that when you cut your acrylic the first time to get it in here, you cut it as perfectly round and as clean an edge as you possibly can. For cutting it, use a reciprocating saw or a jigsaw. Use a jigsaw. Use a really fine tooth blade. Orbital jigsaws work the best, and variable speed is kind of a must. You need to have it at low speed. Too hot, the acrylic just turns straight into liquid glue and just starts gumming up the blade. Will lock your blade in there. If you try and use a Dremel tool, they're too high speed. They'll gum up your blades, break off those little cut-off wheels, or just gum them straight into the plastic. They don't work. Hacksaw, you could probably cut it with a hacksaw. I tried. It was a lot more of a pain than I'm willing to deal with. Just use a, borrow steel. Go out to your garage and find a jigsaw and use it, and you're all set. Cut it nice and round, as smooth as you possibly can. Mine was really ragged. This still worked, but after the fact, it was a real pain to try and go back and get everything kind of rounded out. And I'm sure if I do decide to finish smoothing that one, it's going to take forever. So, cut it real nice and smooth. The jigsaw should leave you a good, clean edge. And if you take your time and cut it round, you shouldn't have to do too much cleanup past that, besides a little bit of light sanding. So you get your cymbal here, you get your plastic, your acrylic, put it down in here, center it up. I just eyeballed mine, like I said, prototype. And then you start heating it with the heat gun. Don't heat it in one spot too much. Try and get it a good all over heat. And watch for it to start sagging into the middle. Once it starts sagging, you know you're good to really get started on it. You want to move out towards the edge and start heating the edge first. Once you see the edge is all kind of formed down in here and molded into the inside of your cymbal, just start moving in, working your way around, and getting it all pressed nice and flat. I heated mine in the middle a little bit too much to begin with, and the bell came out with some lumps in it. Doesn't look exactly right. I'll show you here in a minute. But heat it from the outside in towards the middle. It'll start forming and sticking down here and laying real nice and flat against the inside edge of your cymbal. Once you got it down here, make sure that you keep the heat out towards the edge as these work in. If you don't, what ends up happening, what happened with me, is the middle hit the hole, sealed off my vacuum before the outside edges had laid flat, and I ended up with bubbles and lumps and stuff around the outside edge. Take your time with this. If you heat the acrylic too fast or too hot, it will start foaming and bubbling, and you're just running into all kinds of other problems. So go slow, use the heat that you need, but not more than you have to. I think the forming temperature of the acrylic is somewhere, for the 1/4 inch sheets anyway, was somewhere between about 290 and about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So you get it nice and hot, you start forming it, it'll start sagging. It'll fill in exactly, even though this bell seems like kind of a deep curve to be hitting something that rigid, the acrylic will eventually form in here. It took about an hour, hour and a half for it all to form up. Once the outside edges had kind of formed in, I started using my vacuum and left it on while I heated it up. It let everything mold into place really well, pulled down the middle really well. And then once you got it all laid flat against the inside of the cymbal, take your heat off of it, leave the vacuum running until it cools, and then you're good to go. Once it cooled, I just pulled it out, took it out in the garage. I actually pulled the parts off of one of my other TC cymbals here. And for drilling and everything, it was really easy. I just laid the TC cymbal over the top. The mounting hole was a little bigger than 5/16, but I didn't have a bigger drill bit than that. Laid over the top, drilled through, walled it out a little bit. You can see the little bumps right here. Your pickup is held into the TC cymbal with a couple of screws and lock washers, the nylon lock washers on the back. So you lay the TC over, drill right through it. The holes will be perfectly spaced. Take your pickup off your TC cymbal, stick it on the back, run your screws through, screw on your nylon lock washers, and if you want to use the pad, lay it on. If you don't worry about it. As far as what you get for what you just did, besides the obvious, response from a acrylic Visulite over, their TC line, I can show you right here. Even though My TCs, I braced them in the back with something a little more rigid. Like this hi-hat has a roadie hi-hat wedge underneath the back of it to keep it more solid. They're still really dead. I mean, they don't bounce at all. And they're good response, but they're just really dead. The noise is a lot less, but if you're looking for realistic feel, this isn't what you're going to get out of these. My crash over here, I mean, it's just dead like that. If you take the acrylic Visulite that we made here, I mean, you can see that thing, it's got really good rebound. It bounces all over the place. Right now the sensitivity isn't perfect, and it's only where this foam pad is. If I reach out here and actually hit it on the acrylic, I mean, you don't have to hit it hard at all to trigger that sensor. I think I just need a thinner foam pad, maybe a little better pickup that was designed for harder materials, but I mean, it works perfect. It feels a lot more like a real cymbal, especially if you don't mind the noise and you hit it over here. You get exactly the same rebound you would off of a real cymbal. It's great. So for anybody out there that wants to try and make their own Visulites, it was really easy. Yeah, it only came in clear, and I could spend a little more money and get the tinted acrylic off the line. That would be more expensive. The idea I've come up with so far, I'm going to give it a try after I get some more cymbals made. If you go to AutoZone, Pep Boys, O'Reilly's, any of that stuff like that, they have tail light, headlight, and corner light paints up there. It's just tints you can spray onto clear plastic and clear glass that will tint it. They have a smoky color that you can do everything from just a light hazy tint on your tail lights all the way up to where you can black them out. It's called Nightshades, made by VHT, I think. There's a couple other brands out there. Or you can do red, the amber yellow color. If you want anything past that, you probably would have to go online and order tinted acrylic to use for your project. I was going to show you, you can see where the bell didn't exactly form up just right. And I've got a couple of lumps in it, especially with the light. You can see right there's a little lump in it. And then back here, from where they didn't form all the way down into the bell perfectly. So make sure you heat outside in and go slow. But that's my Hombrew Visulite. I wanted to let you guys see it before I make a more refined project, so anybody that wants to give it a try can try their hand at it. Hey, it worked out really great. You guys keep modding, and I'll see you later. I'll do a more extensive how-to, hopefully step by step, following right along with me when it comes time to make the rest of them. And when I get down to making a actual two-piece hi-hat with on an acoustic hi-hat stand and modifying the mechanical pedal with a trigger or with a switch for use on an electronic kit, I'll make sure I get with you guys on that too. So alright guys, that's what I got. Like I said, keep modding, have fun, and I'll see you guys in a few days.